Hey! Hurry up and come here. Sophia's hurt. I rushed here as fast as I could. Don't give me any excuses. When I heard from the hospital about the car accident, I was definitely panicked. Despite leaving work early, this is no way to talk to someone. I just asked the doctor, is it true about the paralysis? Yeah, it's true. His paralysis was in the lower half of his body. Meaning, from now on, walking won't be possible. You're gonna take care of me, right? Take care of you? What are you so surprised about? You're my wife, it's obvious, isn't it? Then, seemingly more irritated than before, he started tapping on the table with his finger. This was a habit he had when he was displeased about something. When I didn't respond, he threw a water bottle that was on the table at me. It happened so suddenly, I couldn't avoid it, and it hit me in the eye. I crumbled to the floor in pain. Seeing this, my husband started hurling more insults. What are you doing? What do you mean what? It's because you threw that at me. Tears started to overflow from my eyes. Seeing this, he began to laugh. You're crying over that. The sadness turned more into anger the more he spoke. As I glared at him, my sister came into the room, limping with crutches. Oh, you're here. And it looks like you're having fun. I came at just the right moment. She says she won't take care of me. Help me until she says yes. Leave it to me. Despite using crutches, my sister started throwing things like water bottles and smartphones at me along with my husband. How about now? Changed your mind? The thing is, I never said I wouldn't take care of him. I didn't understand why I was being treated this way. Hey! How long are you gonna sit there? Give me the crutches. My husband took the crutches from my sister and started prodding me with them. Stop! What have I done to you? If that's the case, then you're gonna take care of me for life. Then you can take care of our kid and the dog too. I can't move yet. Watching the two of them do as they pleased, something in me snapped. I had endured various things until now, but I had reached my limit. This is too much. Huh? Do you realize what you're saying? Of course, I know. The reason we're in this situation in the first place is because you two went on that trip, isn't it? You thought I didn't know? I ignored them and left the room. Leaving them like that, I ended up facing what can only be described as hell. My name is Sophia. I work in an administrative role at a sales company. I'm the type who can't rest easy unless I thoroughly take care of all the details, and eventually, my work ethic was recognized, making me a relied-upon figure among my colleagues. I have an older sister named Mila, who I've looked up to since I could remember. To me, my sister was also someone I admired. However, at some point, she started ignoring me, perhaps finding me bothersome. Hey sis, can you help me with my homework? Just do it yourself. But I don't understand it. Then my sister would show irritation. Why don't you ask dad or mom? Of course, I tried asking my parents. But they told me to do it myself. So I turned to my sister. Unlike me, who wasn't particularly capable, my sister was not only efficient in everything she did but also had good social skills. Sophia, you need to take a leaf out of your sister's book. Yes, you should aim to get into the same school she did. Okay. Then my sister would come along. But with your current grades, it might be tough, right? Then why don't you teach her? Why? Things like this have to be done by oneself to be meaningful. I also applied to the same school as my sister, but failed miserably. And so, I ended up going to a fallback school. From then on, my standing at home got even worse. Branded a failure, I was treated almost like a maid. Maid, could you take care of this too? Eh? Come on, hurry up. While I was stuck doing household chores, my sister and the rest would go out to eat, placing me in a position that hardly felt like part of the family anymore. I can't wait to live on my own. Now, my goal is to leave this house as soon as possible and live independently from my family. After a tough high school experience, I left home as soon as I entered college and have been working since graduating. Getting a job felt like heaven compared to before. My colleagues were kind, and I began to be relied upon in a way I never had before. 2 years into my job, I went to a drinking party I was invited to by a friend. That's where I met my current husband, Theodore. Is this seat taken? No, it's free. Theodore was in the same year as my sister and was seen as a promising salesman within the company. Just the fact that he spoke to me made me feel happy. I've heard there's a really dependable person in your department. Me? I just try not to be a burden every day. That's the same for me. For about the first year after I joined, I was practically useless. I can't imagine that at all. I had thought he must be part of the elite, but it turned out not to be the case. I thought he might be like a brother figure, but his circumstances were actually closer to mine. I felt presumptuous even thinking about getting close to someone like him, but now I wonder if it's all right to hope a little. Our conversation got lively, and when we got onto the topic of hobbies, I was surprised to find out he likes video games and anime, which made me feel even closer to him. Would you mind giving me your contact info? My contact info? Yeah, I was thinking I'd like to have a chat, just the two of us sometime. Is that okay? Yes, I'd love to. I answered a bit too eagerly. Then here. We exchanged contact information by scanning QR codes. I was doing a victory pose in my mind. And as we went on more dates, we started dating. Spending time with Theodore made me gradually gain confidence, something I hadn't had before. I came to believe there wasn't another man who respected and understood me as much as he does. Being able to open up to him this much, feeling a comfort I never felt even with family, was a first for me. I wish we could stay together forever. I couldn't help but think that. As these feelings grew stronger day by day, Theodore proposed to me. I want you to marry me. You're the only one for me, Sophia. I want us to be together forever. I'm so happy. Yes, I'd love to. And so, we got engaged. During our relationship, we never had any major fights, and I believed that we could build a happy family together. Then the day came for us to visit my family home. Honestly, I didn't want to go. On the way to my family home, my steps were heavy. It's okay. I'm here with you. Yeah. Theodore was aware of my strained relationship with my family, as I had mentioned it during our relationship. So he was considerate of me. He held my hand tightly all the way to my family home. I could feel my tension slowly melting away. Despite the nervousness, we opened the door to my family home. Oh? Isn't that Sophia? What brings you here? It was someone I honestly didn't want to see. My sister, Mila, was already married to a man named Theo, 2 years her senior. They had a child soon after getting married, but the child wasn't around today. We're here for a marriage greeting. Marriage? Oh, right. Congratulations. Despite her words, her attitude seemed to mock us, making me clench my hand tightly. Then, sensing that, Theodore reached out to save the situation. Nice to meet you. I'm Theodore. You must be Sophia's sister, right? I've heard you're a very capable person from her. Oh, is that so? Thank you. And where's Aria? Oh, she's right here. See you later. With that, Mila left the room. We then greeted my parents again. So, Sophia is getting married too. We're all for it. After all, he's so handsome. Mom, is that what you're after? What are you talking about? Just because he's handsome doesn't mean you should make a move. Laughing, what kind of conversation is this? It seems they approve of the marriage, but it's just the height of vulgarity. The real problem started from here. We were supposed to start preparing for the wedding, but somehow it was decided we'd discuss and decide everything at my family home. That's because my mom and Mila wanted to meet Theodore again. Honestly, I didn't want to go, but then Theodore said something surprising. Since we're at it, why not decide everything together? Eh? I thought he understood why I didn't want to go to my family home, so I couldn't understand why he would suggest that. Are you sure about that, Theodore? It's our wedding. Of course, I know that. But I think, being a family, we should discuss it properly. Why would it turn out like this? That's one of Theodore's bad habits showing. He's too serious. Surely, he meant well, but my mother and Mila don't really want to get along with me in the true sense. With such worries, we headed to my family home. Unfortunately, my father was out, leaving only my mother and Mila. How did someone like Sophia manage to catch such a handsome man? He's several times better than my husband. Mila immediately started causing trouble. Taking that as a cue, my mother also started being overly familiar with Theodore. We didn't get to ask much last time since your father was here, but who have you dated before? I've dated Sophia and one other person, a classmate from high school. Or rather, I hadn't even heard about Theodore's past relationships. Then, the conversation didn't touch on wedding plans at all, and my mother and Mila bombarded him with a barrage of questions. Looking over, wondering if he was troubled by all the questions, it seemed like Theodore was actually enjoying it. Are you really okay with Sophia? Huh? Of course. I can be quite absent-minded, and having serious Sophia around helps me a lot. And at some point, Mila had started calling Theodore by his first name. Then suddenly, Mila sat down next to Theodore. Yeah, looking up close, you really do have a handsome face. Hey Sophia, want to swap husbands? What are you talking about? It's just a joke, Sophia. You don't have to take it so seriously. How is this supposed to look like a joke? Mila, snugly positioned next to Theodore, had her arm through his and was pressing up to him with her chest emphasized by her attire, capturing Theodore's full attention. Should we start talking about the wedding now? Yeah, that sounds good. We then shifted the conversation to the wedding plans, but it seemed like neither my mother nor Mila cared much about that, showing displeasure on their faces. Eventually, the discussion moved forward, but it took way longer than expected due to my mother and Mila bringing up completely unrelated topics. There was even a suggestion that we stay over, but we managed to decline. On the way back home. Those are some incredible people. You can't seriously engage with them. That's just how they are. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. 3 months later, our wedding ceremony was successfully held, and we officially started our married life. Theodore, already a favorite of my mother and Mila, began going out more often as they invited him. I got invited out again today. I'll try to come back as soon as I can. Again today? When did you even exchange contact information? Oh, we exchanged numbers during the wedding planning. That was back then? I hadn't heard about it at all, and I couldn't believe they had done this behind my back. Their demands became more intense over time, and it seemed the occasions Theodore met just with Mila were increasing. Maybe you don't have to take up every invitation? What are you talking about? I'm doing this to help you bond with your family. That might be appreciated, but... Do you really dislike me getting along with them that much? It's not that. Then it's fine, right? I understood where Theodore was coming from. It's always better to be on good terms with your spouse's family. But meeting every week is another story. If only they would invite me along sometimes, it might help, but there's no way those two would do such a thing. Hello? Sorry, but I'll be home late. You can go to sleep first. Okay. However, I couldn't fall asleep easily and ended up waiting for Theodore to return. Welcome back. I told you to go to sleep. I couldn't fall asleep. I thought he was late because of overtime, but that didn't seem to be the case. I could clearly smell alcohol on him. Did you go drinking? Yeah, just a bit. In my mind, the faces of my mother and Mila appeared. Were you drinking with Mila and them again? I don't meet them that often. Today was with colleagues. You could have just said that from the beginning. From that point on, my wariness was at its peak. Even when he said he was going out with colleagues or for fun, I couldn't help but wonder if it was actually with Mila and them. My unease gradually turned into irritation and anger. There were times I thought about following Theodore on his outings on weekends. But then, it became our busy season at work, and my mind was filled with nothing but work. Theodore, seemingly unconcerned about how I felt, would sometimes go to family gatherings alone, without even telling me. During this time, someone else started to question the situation as well. My father. I found out about this while Theodore was out drinking with Mila and the others as usual. Are you at home right now? Yes, but... Do you know where your mother has gone? I realized my mother hadn't told my father where she was going. Thinking there was no need to hide it, I told my father the truth. Is that true? It is. Mila is probably with them too. Don't you think anything of this? How can I not? But no matter how much I say, they won't listen to me. There was a moment of silence from my father. Then, surprisingly, he apologized. Sorry. I had no idea things had gotten this bad. Apologies now only make things more complicated. If so, you should talk to Mom more firmly. I understand. I never thought I'd speak so assertively to my father. Even he seemed taken aback by my forcefulness, left speechless. Having said all that, I hoped my father would do something about it. As a result, it seemed my mother stopped meeting with Theodore. I didn't know the specifics of what was done, but for now, the issue with my mother was resolved. That left my sister. I want to contact Theo, but I don't even know his number. Maybe Dad knows? After that, I reached out to my father. At this point, I had to act. I had plans to stop by my parents' house, so I thought I'd ask my father then. Good to see you. I needed something for work. Well, I also had something else I wanted to ask. What did you want to ask? Do you have Theo's contact information? I do, but... Could you give it to me? What are you planning? Obviously, it's about Mila. We can't let this continue. Are they still meeting? Seems like it. That's how I got Theo's contact information. I'll be heading back then. Is there anything I can do? Yeah, for now, just keep an eye on Mom. Got it. Don't push yourself too hard, okay? I'll handle it. I reached out to Theo and explained the current situation. However, since Theo was on a business trip alone, we agreed that I would keep him updated about Mila's situation. Simultaneously, Theodore's behavior towards me began to change drastically. He became noticeably harsher in his interactions with me. As Theodore, a salesman, saw an uptick in company performance, his business trips and time away from home increased. Though I understood the necessity, one day upon his return from a trip brought a new low. Get this dry cleaned, he said, tossing his shirts and suits at me carelessly. I have another trip the day after tomorrow, so make sure it's done by then. Another trip? Huh? That single word was enough to irritate Theodore. Unlike you, I'm constantly on the move, which is exhausting. You just sit all day, right? Must be nice. Nice? That's not true at all. We also work hard creating documents for salespeople like you. Getting cocky over a job anyone can do isn't great, he said mockingly, with a derisive laugh. He had never spoken to me like that before. In fact, he used to be grateful for the work I did. I wondered if this really was the Theodore I knew. Since you're just lazing around at home, you might as well do the housework perfectly, right? But Who said you could talk back? Just get to the dry cleaning, will you? Unlike some people, you're truly useless. I couldn't help but retort. Are you referring to your sister with some people? The moment I mentioned his sister, I felt a shock on my back. I was picking up the thrown clothes when his throw made me hit my face on the floor. Mila has nothing to do with this. How is she not involved when a husband casually refers to his sister-in-law by her first name? Fortunately, I wasn't seriously injured, but my anger towards Theodore only grew. Then, the inevitable X-day arrived. Theodore continued to find fault with everything I did. Where he once helped, he now watched me like a hawk, ensuring I was doing all the housework correctly. If anything was slightly off, he wouldn't hesitate to throw whatever was nearby at me. Stop throwing things! If you did things right, I wouldn't have to throw anything. It's your fault. I am doing it right. Any sign of defiance from me would earn a piercing glare and an exaggerated sigh from him. Actually, when you look closely, you're pretty ugly. I froze, cleaning in hand. I instinctively looked at Theodore. Don't look at me, just get back to work. He continued to berate me. You really lack charm, don't you? Mila is so beautiful, and to think you're sisters. I can hardly believe it. Why don't you try to learn a bit from her? Even a plain Jane like you could improve to at least average, couldn't she? I told myself not to react, as if casting a spell of self-persuasion. While I repeated that mantra in my head, my phone rang. Right now? Ah, understood. Then, the usual place. I didn't need to ask who was on the phone to guess. It was probably Mila. I'm stepping out for a bit. Make sure everything is finished by the time I get back. Theodore left. After ensuring he wasn't coming back, I took a moment to breathe. Sitting on the sofa, I gazed up at the ceiling. Somehow, today it seemed higher than usual. I couldn't help but wonder why I was putting myself through this. I bit my lip to hold back tears that threatened to spill. While finishing the remaining chores, I pondered my future. Should I continue to be with Theodore? I wanted to be happy, that's why I married him. I didn't wish for this outcome. Are you done? Theodore's voice brought me back to reality. Checking the clock, I realized it had been almost 3 hours since Theodore left. It was nearly midnight. I'm going to bed. Don't you dare sleep until you're done with everything. I didn't respond. Seriously, you can't even respond? Muttering complaints, Theodore went to sleep. It was another hour before I finished all the chores. I quietly opened the bedroom door to peek inside and saw him snoring peacefully, seemingly content. Then, something caught my eye. It was Theodore's shoulder bag, which he always took with him when he went out. Before I knew it, my hand was reaching for it. Inside were his wallet and other items. At the bottom, I found a crumpled piece of paper. Hesitantly, I unfolded it to discover several hotel receipts. Thinking that keeping them would reveal my snooping, I took photos of everything and put them back exactly as they were. There's no escaping this now. The real question was who he was going with. There were 2 suspects, my mother and Mila. But my father was keeping an eye on my mother. She couldn't possibly sneak out at such an hour. That left Mila as the prime suspect. By this point, my affection for Theodore had significantly faded. All that was left was to gather undeniable evidence. Theodore's phone was lying by his pillow. If it's come to this, I'm going all out. I reached for the phone. Just then, Theodore, who should have been sound asleep, woke up. What are you doing? My heart felt like it was about to explode. I've finished what I needed to do, thought I might go to sleep. Then go to sleep already. Got it. After making sure he was asleep again, I started messing with the phone. It was locked with a 4-digit code, but I tried a certain number and it opened. First, I checked the call history from earlier. As expected, it was Mila. I also checked the photo folder and the messaging app. There, I found dozens of photos of Theodore with Mila and my mother. I felt nauseous but managed to take pictures of them while suppressing my urge to vomit. I left the room and headed straight to the kitchen sink, taking deep breaths to calm myself. Drinking a glass of water, I realized I had completely chosen the wrong partner to marry. Hey! What are you spacing out for? I have a business trip for the next 2 nights. The preparations are ready. You're catching on, aren't you? I get things done when I need to. Humph. Indeed, the messaging app contained plans for an affair trip with Mila. It seemed he was thoroughly ensnared by Mila's manipulation. Well, setting your password as your sister's birthday. The next morning, Theodore casually lied about going on a business trip and left. As usual, I went to work and immediately headed for Theodore's department. I was there to speak with his direct supervisor, the department head, who was familiar with me. Good morning. What brings you here today? I don't recall any tasks you had for us. It's not about work today. Oh. Theodore said he was going on a business trip. A business trip? No, that's not right. He said he was taking leave for a family emergency starting today. Is that so? Sorry, that's all I wanted to know. You should have heard that from him, right? Not exactly. Would you like to know what's actually happening? I explained to the department head what Theodore was really up to today. Although he was furious about the lie, I made him promise not to tell Theodore that we had spoken. The real confrontation would happen when Theodore returned. In the meantime, I did everything I could, including finding a skilled lawyer and discussing my situation in advance. All that was left to do was wait. However, something unexpected happened that evening. A call from an unknown number came in, and it was from the hospital. My husband? I was told that Theodore had been involved in a traffic accident and was taken to the hospital. I explained the situation to my company and left early for the hospital. Upon being guided to the room by a nurse. Hey, hurry up and come here. I am injured. I came as fast as I could. Don't make excuses. I was genuinely panicked when I heard about the traffic accident. This wasn't about concern or anything like that. If he had died, my plans for revenge would be unfulfilled. I just asked the doctor, is the paralysis true? Yeah, it's true. Theodore's paralysis was in his lower body, meaning he wouldn't be able to walk from now on. You're gonna take care of me, right? Take care of you? What are you so surprised about? You're my wife, it's obvious, isn't it? Then, seemingly more irritated than before, he started tapping on the table with his finger. This was a habit he had when he was displeased about something. When I didn't respond, he threw a water bottle that was on the table at me. It happened so suddenly, I couldn't avoid it, and it hit me in the eye. I crumbled to the floor in pain. Seeing this, Theodore started hurling more insults. What are you doing? What do you mean what? It's because you threw that at me. Tears started to overflow from my eyes. Seeing this, my husband began to laugh. You're crying over that. The sadness turned more into anger the more he spoke. As I glared at Theodore, Mila came into the room, limping with crutches. Oh, you're here. And it looks like you're having fun. I came at just the right moment. Since she says she won't take care of you, yes, until she agrees to help. Leave it to me. Mila, despite using crutches, started throwing things like water bottles and smartphones at me along with Theodore. How about now? Changed your mind? The thing is, I never said I wouldn't take care of him. I didn't understand why I was being treated this way. Hey! How long are you gonna sit there? Give me the crutches. Theodore took the crutches from Mila and started prodding me with them. Stop! What have I done to you? If that's the case, then you're gonna take care of me for life. Then take care of our kid and the dog too. I can't move yet. Watching the two of them say whatever they wanted, something in me snapped. I had endured various things until now, but I had reached my limit. This is too much. Huh? Do you realize what you're saying? Of course I do. This all started because you two went on that trip, didn't it? You thought I didn't know? I'll make you regret this. I ignored them and left the hospital room. Then, I saw Theo running towards me. Theo, you're back? I was planning to come back today. Did you see what I sent you? I saw it. Is Mila in this room? Yes. You have red eyes. This is because Theodore threw a water bottle at me. Mila did too. Theo sighed deeply. Then, Mila tried to push her kids onto me as well. I could see Theo's fists clenching. That's why I decided to leave them be. Leave them? What do you mean? They'll be in the hospital for a while longer. So, I'll use this time to get my revenge on them. I see. Then, let me help you with that. Of course. It would be reassuring to have you, Theo. And I've already set things in motion. We left the hospital immediately. After reporting back to the company, it seemed a meeting was called. Theo and I together consulted a lawyer for divorce and alimony proceedings. Then, we reported to our parents. I can't believe you've gone this far. Now you see? I believe Mom is also responsible. Me? You were enjoying yourself with Mila, right? Didn't you wonder why Dad suddenly became strict? I've been consulting Sophia about how odd it was. So, I thought Mom should also face some consequences. What are you planning to make me do? First, you must not contact them at all. Visiting them is also off limits. That's light, isn't it? Is there more? I have one more move up my sleeve. I want Dad to see this. I showed him a particular photo. Upon seeing it, Dad looked furious, as if he was about to strike Mom. Don't think you can get away with this. What are you talking about? This. The photo I showed him included Theodore kissing and being intimate with someone. So, Theodore was also involved with my mother. Seeing those pictures made me feel sick again. Get out! Huh? Leave this house now. Don't you ever come back, you homewrecker. How could you? I won't say it twice. Then, my mother left the house, looking like she was about to cry. I can't believe it's come to this. I really had no idea, I mused. I feel the same. And it's not over yet. I exchanged a look with Theo, signaling him. We're going to make a greeting visit now. Want to come? To the hospital? Yeah. And so, the three of us headed to the hospital. As soon as we opened the door to Theodore's hospital room, he lashed out at me. You've ignored me all this time. What have you been up to? Mila was also sitting there by the bed. Good timing. We came here today because we have something important to discuss. Of course, this includes you, Mila. Finally decided to take care of me? Come in. Then, my father and Theo, who had been waiting outside, entered. Theo? Why are you here? I just got back from a business trip. Forgot about that, did you? And Dad too? By the way, Mom's been kicked out of the house. Why would that happen? Obviously, because she was involved with Theodore. Huh? What do you mean? No, This is what I mean. I threw printed photos at them. I told you I knew everything. Oh, and by the way, Theo and I are planning to divorce. Right now, a lawyer is handling it. Including the alimony. Both were speechless. And I've informed the company about this, so you might be getting fired right about now. What? It's obvious, given you lied to the company too. You're going that far? The betrayal was on your part. When I decide to do something, I go all out. Didn't you know? If not, you're just stupid. So, what's going to happen now? That's for you to figure out. You're adults, after all. It's all your own doing. Dad, do you have anything to say? Nothing. I don't know these people. Just make sure you two get along. Especially you, Theodore. It's going to be tough, but you have Mila, right? We left the hospital room. All three of us looked more relieved than when we arrived. This time we owe it to Sophia. It's not over yet, though. I just played a part in it. I'm really grateful, you know. What about Uriah and the dog? I'll take them with me. I can't trust her with them. A week later, the divorce was finalized, and the alimony was paid. I immediately moved out my belongings and returned to my parents' home. I'll be in your care from now on. Take it easy. We've caused you enough trouble. Do as you please. Thank you. About a month later, those three showed up at my parents' house. I was expecting you to come. Theodore was wheeled in by Mila. There's nothing to talk about. And why is Mom here? Did you forget about me? This is... Well, it's fine. You'd only be in the way here anyway. Wait. Please listen. I can't just do as I please in this condition. And? We can't go on living like this. Mila interjected. Annoyed, I completely lost the desire to talk. Too bad, but my sister interrupted, so sorry. Wait, please. I'm begging you. Didn't you hear? You're useless now. So just disappear. I went inside the house. They lingered outside for a while but eventually gave up and left. Later, I heard about their situation. As expected, Theodore was fired, and Mila, who hadn't worked before, was complaining while working from morning till night. But Mila and my mother were not getting along well, constantly at odds. Well, they were fighting over one man. It's true what they say about blood not lying. Theodore's situation spread at work, and I left the company. However, I'm not despairing. Now, I'm living at my parents' house, doing illustration work, something I've always been interested in. From now on, I want to live life on my terms.